大家好，欢迎呢大家来到 FOFA 我们家族办公室金融科技协会，还有 OneTV 第一亚太卫视我们共创的这个播客节目。今天非常高兴呢能够邀请到 Dinis 在我们身边，他是一个超值100万网红企业家还有作家。那首先我先介绍一下我们两个现在的机构。我们 FOFA 致力于连接家族办公室与金融科技，推动财富传承与创新。而 OneTV 作为亚太区领先的这个财经媒体，现在也跟我们一起推动在香港、在亚洲区的创新的发展。我是今天的大家的主持人，香港唱客王比特。我们现在呢非常荣幸邀请到了由英国来的重量的嘉宾，他不仅是著名的科技网红、企业家，还是畅销书这个 For IR AI Blockchain Fintech IoT Reinventing a Nation 的作者。他的这个科技不仅仅呢停留在理论上面，而且呢他有实潜在智慧城市 Smart City， 然后呢还有在 AI 的农业 AI Agriculture 的技术上面应用到全东南亚太地区。现在呢，他也很热烈的去跟香港了，还有中国我们的大家的一些观众呢，想一个非常好的一个连接，所以呢，希望呢我们能连接东方还有西方的一个媒体力量，去拓展我们科技的一个新的发展。So welcome Dinis to Hong Kong. So before we dive to our conversation about technology, about how we change better our life, could you please briefly introduce yourself to our audience and tell us what areas are you currently focusing on?
Thank you, Peter, for having me and for the OneTV and the family office organization. So I'm not a conventional business person because I would say I always look at me as three hats. One is a researcher, academic, and as well a writer and author. And the other one is a serial entrepreneur that likes to think out of the box, and I like to create products and inventions that can actually look at technology, finance, and we put all of this together to empower, first of all, ourselves, and then take it to the world. And then third, I'm a AI fintech technologist that have been the cutting edge of building very advanced technologies. And through these technologies, I've been end up advising countries, big corporations, Fortune 100, and I've been very focused on keeping always the cutting edge, but as well a bit feet on the ground. So I've been sometimes 5-10 years ahead, sometimes more, but at the same time looking what are the problems we can solve with the best technology. And of course, bear in mind that everything touches money and lifestyle, how we put all of this together.
Fantastic. Yeah, so very few of the scientists or technology researchers there will have an entrepreneurial mind like yourself, like you will roll up your sleeve and do the hard work by yourself. So he is a very experienced serial entrepreneur and also the frontier in AI and blockchain as well. So thank you for your quick introduction. Your background is really amazing to all of the mainland audience we have. I think you have some extensive experience in Southeast Asia, especially in also have some connection with the government as well. Could you share how you utilize AI and blockchain to help developing regions to build smart city ecosystem, and how does it help them to achieve leapfrog development?
Yeah, I think probably the biggest case study in my career was creating a bank between Malaysia and Africa. And building the bank, which was a digital bank, was a fantastic part because it was in 2014 was probably one of my first biggest cases. It helped me understanding the needs and as well the bridges. Because for instance, I would say that Southeast Asia, for instance, Malaysia is quite advanced. Of course, Hong Kong and China are massive advance in terms of knowledge, fintech, and all different things. But then when you go to Africa and all areas, there's a lot of kind of different layers of velocity. So I think this case study is interesting because I had to look at the finance, the technology, the legal, the international corridors, and how we put all of this together. And that was a fantastic case study. And I then, probably the second biggest case study I did was building a platform in Africa where I put a lot of advanced blockchain, but it was interesting that we were too advanced. But we managed to do an entire project for close to 500,000 people. But the challenge was then all the different layers of technology, finance, and even, for instance, infrastructure.
Yep.
And this is, I think, the biggest challenge, is how we put all the different technologies together. That's what I like to do, because most of the companies are trying to solve just one problem. I think I'm not the best guy on that, because I love to solve a lot of problems, which is good and bad, but that's my passion as well. And I love a lot of Asia. I think Asia is much more advanced, especially Southeast Asia and China and Hong Kong. I would say it's right now 5 to 10 years ahead of the rest of the world.
Wow. Okay.
Because there's a kind of a integration of digital 360. Whereas, for instance, in Europe, we have still a lot of legacy systems. So there's a lot of advanced things, but a lot of legacy systems. And in the US, it's even worse. For instance, in finance, it's much less. And for instance, Brazil, it's kind of very advanced technology-wise, but then the country is a chaos in other areas. But for instance, you can go and buy a fruit with a QR code and a card, which is crazy. You are in the streets and you can be robbed, but you get all these different things. So we have a lot of velocities. But for me, for instance, now when it comes to AI, I have a mandate, and I'm very focused on how can we use these technologies to empower us, not the other way around. And I'm very nervous because AI is creating massive opportunities, but a lot of disruption. So, and the biggest thing that I'm particularly passionate is how we can use, for instance, you are a younger generation, there's 3.5 to 4 billion people playing games every day.
True. Yeah. A lot of gamers.
But most of this doesn't bring any value to you. It's just fun.
It's a different virtual world, different plane of existence.
Exactly. So I think if we mix this kind of layers of technology together with finance, personal development, then AI can be fantastic.
Gamifying.
Yeah. And that's partly what I'm excited, and that's what we're right now doing with CitiesABC Impact, which is an agriculture farmer platform that will be then, it's about impact. That's why we call it CitiesABC. So CitiesABC.com is our platform for cities, because I travel a lot. And I realized that a lot of cities don't have right infrastructure, right even promotion. Of course, you have Hong Kong that is known, everyone knows, or Dubai or others, London, of course, where I live, Paris and so forth. But then there's a lot of cities that have fantastic ecosystems and they don't really have visibility. So my idea starts with that, and everyone lives in a city or in a suburb of a city.
CitiesABC, it's, can I resemble it like the yellow page? Have you heard of those?
Yeah, it's a yellow page with a 3D component, with the knowledge and wiki.
So, and you also verify the authenticity.
Exactly. So for instance, in cities, you have the city council, the mayors, you have the people that work in the city, you have the universities, you have the students, you have even the companies and the business. So we create like a wiki for all of them with blockchain technology. And now we create an LLM. And the LLM, of course, it's in a small scale, but the technology is there, can scale, but the data is all with provenance. So we are very obsessed with making sure that we just don't go and steal data from people, because I think that's the biggest challenge. And then we start with the farmers, because we all have to eat. And in the cities, you have food. For instance, a good example I will use is, for instance, Dubai food ecosystem is around $40 billion. And people forget how big it is. And the challenge is that most of the population of the world lives with the relation with agriculture and food.
Of course.
We're talking about close to 3 billion people just for agriculture, 2.6 billion. But if you put food, it goes to 4 or 5. So, but the AI technology we're doing is super advanced, but it's not targeting, empowering these people. So the idea that I try to do is putting this together. And for instance, Southeast Asia, well, in Asia is where the biggest part of the world population is. We're talking about, if you look, all America is like 1 billion. Europe, it's less than, close to.
And you are opening up India market as well.
We are very big in India. I have a lot of partners, and we've been working with a lot of universities, government, Rajasthan government, and Maharashtra, and I've been learning as well. And I love to travel. I love people, so I love to be here in China and knowing people like you and others, because we always learn and we get out of our comfort zones.
Yes, very fruitful experience, and especially I pick up one point is that you are actually quite experienced in multidisciplinary. Different industry, solving problem, facing a lot of other entrepreneur, different industry. Even AI and blockchain is a completely different field of study as well. And how you do the integration and also launching real products, solving real society problem, giving them solutions. These are very important. So let me deep dive a little bit more, because you have mentioned you are you have your vision. You also have some real application that is helping the farmer in Malaysia. Tell us more about that, how you use AI to improve their farming production or their experience.
So the farming is something, initially when we started this project, I did a couple of projects that touch agriculture and farmers. And the biggest, for instance, I created a token in 2016. There was a financial inclusion token. And it was a big success at the time, but because of regulatory part, I decided to quit the project. But what I learned, so people unbanked is around 2 billion people. And it's still a big amount. Or people living with a very low end part of that. And then if you look at farmers, it's much bigger. Farmers and their families. And initially, this project started because we had a Maharashtra government, that is the government of Mumbai, the biggest, one of the biggest areas of India. And they wanted to do something that was integrating artificial intelligence to optimize crops and weather prediction. And then I started, okay, this is great, but we cannot just do one thing here, one thing there. And so why don't you put an app that actually can just basically be like a WhatsApp or WeChat for farmers, but at the same time creates an ID for the farmer, and at the same time brings a marketplace that can create trade corridors. Because, for instance, a lot of examples, for instance, I want to buy a product, but if I go and try to find the people in another country, I don't know if I will trust or not. So the idea is if you have blockchain for the identity, and as well to create a reward system and financial inclusion, and then AI mostly to get intelligence. Because, for instance, if I get and this can make a lot of optimization. For instance, we're doing a big project in Indonesia. And Indonesia, for instance, there's 100 million farmers. And we're starting right now with Induk, that is the biggest farming association in Indonesia, one of the biggest in the world. And what I understood is there's so much we can do if you use these technologies that are very cutting edge, but to make it simple. So that's the idea of CitiesABC Impact focus on agriculture. And we at the same time creating like a database of agriculture, so putting the AI and the LLMs to see, okay, what are the biggest case studies, big academics. For instance, we have right now a network of 400 academics in India, and putting them together and doing the research, which is partly China is very good on that, because China uplifts the development using intelligence and academic.
All the research and education resources are all going to AI and cutting edge technology. I think you mentioned one thing that is a very good reminder of the entrepreneur that are with us right now. Most of them, they are very advanced. They know a lot of like crazy stuff, very complicated new technology, all keeping up every day. But the thing is, like, they forgot the common people or the audience, your client that are using. They want it simple. They want it having a human touch. They are working every day in the farm, so don't bring a hustle to them.
That's exactly the point.
So you found that there's a lack of supply of this kind of technology, usable technology for the farmers, or there's a lot of out there, but you want to integrate them like as an aggregator. What kind of approach?
So there's an amazing amount of technology, a lot of fantastic AgriTech startups, even a lot of financial institutions that create a lot of solutions, but the point, they are all fragmented. And even me in the past is sometimes you're more obsessed about the product, and of course if you're an entrepreneur you have to be, because otherwise you don't have a product that you can sell. But the point is, okay, there's a need of putting things together. And my point right now is much more, okay, how can we integrate? We don't reinvent the wheel. I don't believe in inventing the wheel. And it's more integrating this fantastic technology, scaling it, and everyone wins. I believe that, I know there's a lot of geopolitics, but in the end everyone wants to eat. And when you sit people together in the table, everyone makes the geopolitics aside, and they will relax over a good drink, good food, and this is a universal part of humanity. And I believe that you can push multiple areas, but what I'm trying to do is, okay, get this technology in a way that can empower people. That's why CitiesABC Impact, but as well make it simple. Okay, because sometimes it's, for instance, I just was looking at, for instance, payment solutions. For instance, you have Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Alipay, and a lot of different things. But sometimes it's just a QR code that the farmer can go and pay the thing. So sometimes you don't need to invent the wheel. It's just this. But of course, in AI, is, for instance, we have all these fantastic LLMs. But most of these LLMs are just stealing the data. And actually, ironically, most of the studies say that people are using the AIs right now to optimize their lives. So even health for your diet, nutrition, so why don't you do this for the farmers? For instance, if you get the crops, better intelligence. And for instance, one big challenge when it comes that even me, I didn't know about it. Of course, it's not my area of expertise, is food security is a massive thing for the world. There are countries that have no food security. If there's a crisis, they will be famishing. So it's a very solid and actually very urgent thing.
True. It is. I think you mentioned one of the most important thing is like integration. Yeah.
Yes.
Just like what Steve Jobs
done. Exactly the point. Yeah.
True.
Yeah. Steve Jobs didn't invent the wheel. Most of the things he just assembled it very well. And even for instance, I'm a huge fan of Alibaba. Alibaba, it's amazing because what Jack Ma did and the team was they put together a marketplace, and as well they empowered the people. They give the tools. And it's one of my models. I've been a fan of that platform since the beginning because effectively the way you empower people, the way you can make more business, everyone wins. And there's a scale, the economy of scale, because the governments have more stability and we create an ecosystem that is more sustainable.
I see. One more thing I want to add is because we have some projects in Australia, and we see Australia there is a lot of natural resources as well. Do you have any comment or any insight on implementing your tech in Australia too?
It's interesting that you mentioned that because I've been actually working with a couple of organizations in Australia. Now with you guys, maybe we can do something more on that. So Australia effectively has massive resources in terms of agriculture, resources, mining, a lot of different things, and property and so forth. And of course, it's a massive continent. So it's only a few parts of Australia is populated. So I believe there's a lot of opportunities because it's a quite, of course, sophisticated country. But again, it's about the trade corridors. What I believe is sometimes, for instance, it might be if you know that you need this kind of products and you have this kind of products, if you get the right ecosystem, you can actually make your business much more profitable and scale your business.
True.
So that's kind of what I'm trying to do. And in Australia, definitely, I've been already looking at from different kind of crops that I discuss, a lot of things in terms of import-export that are necessary, and as well the training. Because one of the challenges I've been finding is the training is the key thing. Because even if you are a more or less sophisticated, even entrepreneur, you always have areas that you need to continue learning. And I think the biggest challenge that we're going to see for everyone, and that's kind of probably the biggest risk, is most of people at a certain point they don't want to continue learning. They want to just relax. That is going to be the biggest comfort zone. So we have to keep going. So I think for farmers, business people, startups, even banks, because things are changing at the velocity of light.
Yeah, true. It's like training and also the succession as well, because there are a lot of things that are going to pass on to new generations. And the new era is coming. The original one has to know how to adapt to it. That is what FOFA, our association, is currently doing as well, like solving the pain points in some family office that they may not see in the fintech area. That's what we are doing. Let me have some roundup of maybe a point of encouragement or some insight, because we also have some investor network that may be watching our show as well. Because Dinis, as a visionary entrepreneur, what do you think that is the next big tech trend? And what advice would you give to the investors and entrepreneur that is watching our show, especially if they are looking to enter the AI and Web3 space?
Yeah, it's a bigger question, but I'll try to go in by angles. So I think the biggest thing right now, of course, is everything related to AI. And there's a lot of opportunity. Of course, there's a lot of bubbles that get created because of the hype. But we're talking about $1 trillion being invested in AI infrastructure. So definitely, if you're not on that, you're losing $1 trillion business. That's the first thing. Then from an innovation, there will be, of course, the bridge between the AI and the quantum computing, because it's not science fiction, it's becoming real. For instance, I have one of my friends in the UK that created a fund for quantum computing, and the innovation part is going to disrupt even more than AI is going to be for another level. I think these two things are going to be the most cutting edge part, but then in finance and integration with AI, it's a big opportunity. And then of course, a lot of things around lifestyle. For instance, I think one of the biggest challenges that we have right now is how we put together improving lifestyle of people and empower them. Because I think the narrative about AI is too dystopian and too negative, in the sense that people don't know that you can use the tools. In the end of the day, it's still tools. Yes, some of these tools have capacity to manipulate us, to disrupt, and we've been seeing in the last couple of months the velocity of, for instance, deepfakes, cybersecurity are going to be massive. For instance, this week there was one AI chatbot that could that actually went rogue and they started creating fake profiles of people. So for instance, for everyone listening to us, it's one thing I urgently ask everyone: take care of your personal brand, because I know a lot of people don't want to have a personal brand or a digital brand, but imagine someone creates a fake profile of yours and it might be an AI agent. So you have And this is happening. For instance, this week there was a couple of cases that AI agents create fake profiles of people and destroy the reputation of some people. So you cannot underestimate these things. For instance, if you are a family office or a business or an investor and you don't have a big digital presence,
KYC is not identity of
is a component of KYC. Yes, it's financial part, but the point is that if you have a negative part online, and that's been happening even with me. For instance, I have people faking my profile and going and trying to steal other people with my profile. And big things, not small things. Okay, so this is going to be one. I think this is the risk that I think everyone should take it urgent, especially if you are in finance, in business, in investment, mostly your community, and everyone listening to us. But this touches everyone, and especially look that this is going to affect children. Okay, because if you are an entrepreneur and then suddenly and we can be an AI agent, and most of the AI agents are having people behind it trying to manipulate. So there's a lot of considerations, and of course that's why I want to make sure there's a bit of more transparency, but intelligent. Of course, you need to keep your privacy, but being transparent at the same time.
So cyber security and also some verification tag on different levels of industry, even on identity or on stocks or whatever.
Yes, exactly.
I see.
Yeah, and of course I became my passion is quite a recent one, but I would say that anything related with infrastructure, and you are in construction as well, infrastructure, construction, and even commodities related with food and agriculture, I think this is completely underrated. I think it's ironically we all need to eat, but I didn't know that most of quantity, for instance, Malaysia has reserves of food for 6 months. So it has no food security. And this is a country that is quite developed in terms of infrastructure. So there's a lot of need of a lot of countries that have, for instance, Africa still needs a lot of infrastructure, even Southeast Asia, a lot of food security related. So if we use the technology to create more food security, everyone wins, because we'll have food. If something goes wrong, okay, technology goes up and down, but the food, we need it. We are still humans. So
thank you so much, Dinis, and this is very insightful for all of the investor and entrepreneur out there. Thank you very much today for we have a very fruitful conversation. We are looking forward to our collaboration between the Western counterpart and also Hong Kong and mainland China as well. Thank you so much today for coming. 各位观众，如果你们想了解更多关于 Dinis 的工作，请真的可以 check out his book。然后呢，就随时关注我们的频道，然后关注他的著作 as well。这里是FOFA 与 OneTV，我是香港常客黄彼得，我们下集见。
记得点赞关注哦。